G'day, Stephen. How you going?
Good day, Tom. How are you?
Yeah, well, thanks. What are you doing today?
I'm going to do some requirements modeling, Tom, using this very powerful feature in Enterprise Architect to model textual requirements.
Right, that sounds cool. Where are you starting?
So the first thing I do with the tool is to change the perspective, which puts the focus onto requirements modeling. So we've got a whole lot of perspective sets here. I'm going to choose requirements there, and that changes the tool into a requirements modeling focus, if you like. And I can look at this and bring up the toolbox there. The first thing I want to do over in the project browser is to create a package for the requirements, and I'm simply going to call that the requirements model. That's done there. And one of the really good features about Enterprise Architect, and especially useful with textual-based things like requirements, is being able to drag directly from the toolbox onto the project browser package there. I'm going to drop that on there.
So you don't even need a diagram for that?
No, you don't have to have a diagram open at all. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it is. And I'm just going to change the name of that to the display panel for our so this is requirements for the display panel.
What happened there? Because you had half a name already. Is that just the default name that Enterprise Architect gives a requirement, is it?
It is a default name, but I have got control over, the modeler's got control over how that name starts, the prefix and the numbering system. And if I just show you where that came from, I'm going to go into the settings ribbon and look at the reference data panel and settings, and here we've got auto names and counters. We've got a dialog box there that pops up, and for each different type of element we can set different prefixes and different counters. So I did this a little bit earlier when I started my requirements modeling here, and I have the name. I can put the prefix in, which if I put the DPM in there as the prefix, and I've got a dash and then the counter. Now the counter started at 1, and now the next one that will come up will be 2, right?
So it remembers where you're at in the sequence.
Yeah, that's right. So I put the prefix there, the D, and then the PMS for parking meter system, and then a dash there afterwards. And so the next element I pop in, when I want to do the next one, you'll see what happens there. So I'll leave that display panel one there for a minute, and I'll drop another one on, and you'll be able to see that in action again. So you can see that's gone to 2, and I'm just going to change the name for that, and I'm going to call it availability as a requirement. So I can keep going like this and adding requirements. I'm going to put in a requirement here for weatherproofing. The parking meter is going to be obviously out in the elements, and so we need to make sure that we've got Daisy. Make sure we've got that there, and we've got time management is an important thing. Obviously, with the parking meter, time management and the sessions that a motorist books for the parking meter to do with time.
So that auto naming, does that only work for the ones I'm dropping onto the package?
No, it works. It works in the anywhere I'm creating an element. So if I had a diagram, that would work as well. And I might do that a little bit later. I'll show you on a diagram. We can drop an element onto a diagram when we create one, and you'll be able to see. I'm just putting. I'm going to put another one in here now. Payment processing. From the parking meter systems point of view, that's obviously an important requirement that the payment is made. And let's have a look at that. And it's good to have these notes in, Tom. A lot of people don't put more detailed information in, but Enterprise Architect has got this notes feature available for every element, including the requirement, and I can put in information. So immediately here now we've got this system must process credit card, debit card, NFC. So this is this concept of payments through this near field communication. So when you put your phone to tap onto the parking meter, that's what's going on. The other thing I want to put in is some things about the display. So one of the first things that you need to do with the display is, and I'll drop another requirement on, is the notion of specifying your vehicle registration number, because most of the modern systems use the registration number as the way of identifying the vehicle that's occupying the space. The other thing is we've got a time display as well. So in that panel, we're going to have this time display as well. So there we have it. And the other thing in there is the payment display, obviously. And we'll drop another requirement on there for the payment display. And you can see all those, nicely going up in the naming there. This is the payment display, and let's just drop a few more notes onto that as well. So we've got our display panel, and that has got a bunch of things in it. We've got a time display as well, and we've got some notes about how far someone needs to be away from the panel as well for that time display to be seen, because the vehicle owner may come up and obviously want to know what time is remaining there. So we'll just put these notes into the model. The benefit is great. We're going to be able to include this into any documentation or anything there as well. So this is the payment panel now, payment display. I think I've done that one. And let me have a look at that. Time display, payment display. And Tom, you'll notice that this text is underlined here. I don't know whether you've seen that feature of Enterprise Architect before, but it's a very powerful feature where if I roll my mouse over that, I get a little label saying business, which is what type of element it is, and then some description of that element.
So how does that know that it is a business element?
Right, it's a great question. What's happening here is that inside the tool we have a glossary, and
Right.
I've just put the one term in there, but I can go into a glossary view. It pops up here in this main part of the tool, and you can see here that I've got this parking session defined, and that's of type business, and I can put any number of terms in there, and I can put any types. You might have a medical system, for example, and you might say these are medical terms, or you might have an engineering system and these are engineering terms. So you can have any number of types of elements and describe them, and it's very powerful because someone doesn't need to go to the glossary as they're working, and they can just roll over the term and understand what it is. I can go to the full definition there.
So that sort of allows everyone to speak the same language and have the same definition for the terms for this system then, yeah?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And Tom, you touched on something there. There's nothing in my mind that's more important than the ability to have everyone, singing from the same page, if you like. And that's an incredibly important aspect of this tool. So, Tom, the next thing that I want to do is to show the ability to nest some of these requirements underneath other requirements. So we've got our display panel there, and what I can do is I can drag some of the other requirements, which are like children of that, if you like, the time display, and I can drag that underneath that one, the payment display, again underneath the display panel, and also the payment processing one as well. Except the one of the time management, which one? The registration, vehicle registration number. That's the one I want. And I'm going to just change that. I can go back and change that there to display as well. I didn't put that on there
So
at the end.
what's the purpose of doing this then?
The purpose of the nesting.
Yeah.
Well, Tom, this is a small system that we're modeling here, but Enterprise Architect is a tool that can model incredibly large systems, from something as large as a space shuttle, down to something like this, a parking meter system. And you can imagine that a large system, a large train system, or some sort of aircraft would have thousands and thousands of requirements. So the ability to nest them like this, it's an organizing principle, and it allows you to group things in the project browser and to make them, simpler to understand and for users to navigate to.
Okay.
Yeah. So now I thought what I'm going to do is now I do want to have a diagram. So let's go down the diagram path and let's put a diagram. Let's create a new diagram, and we've chosen our perspective of requirements, and so that's what's going to come up here. And I've got a requirements diagram. I'm going to call it the requirements model there. I'm going to create the diagram, and what I'm going to do is drag a number of these elements onto the diagram. So I'll drag these ones on for a start, and there's a very convenient select for all button here, and I can drag that on.
So what was that asking you then?
Oh, it's asking me whether I want to do the same thing for each element, like put it onto the diagram. If I didn't do it, I'd have the choice every time of selecting the properties on that. Let me show you that again. If I drag another element on there, you can see that it's saying, do I want to drop it as a link or as an instance? So there are different options in Enterprise Architect, and I can, this time I've only got one element there, but if I had two, I can say, hey, do the same thing for each element. It saves a lot of time to, a productivity kind of tool there. The other thing I want to do is, these requirements by themselves don't describe the details very much. So I'm going to use a feature here over on this properties panel. And you notice there are a number of different properties window. I've got a number of different panels there. One of them is the compartments. Now, I'm not interested in showing these default ones, but what I am interested in is showing the notes, because that's going to really describe what's going on. Now, I can drop these other ones onto the diagram as well. These children one, and I'll do the same for that as well. And what I'm going to do is select the whole lot of them, and I'm going to change the shape of them a bit. I think that's a much better shape for something that's got text in it. And now I want to lay these things out. So what I'm going to do is use a feature there. I just save the diagram momentarily. And what I want to do is use the layout ribbon and use one of the diagram layout tools. And I'm going to just choose the box, which is, there are a number of different choices there. The box, the circle, the ellipse, but this might be the easiest one to use. That immediately shows me that one of my requirements, this availability one, doesn't have any notes in it, and it's kind of very easy for me then to go, oh, I'd forgotten to do that. So let's go back and put some notes in that one, and I can do that simply there. And the other one doesn't have it, is this weatherproofing one as well. I talked about weatherproofing being important, but we didn't write the notes for it. So let's put that one in there as well. And so now we've got a nicely laid out diagram. But if we remember our panel, our display panel, and let me just move a couple of things around here. I'm going to put my display panel down here, and I'm going to move a couple of these things around a little bit. Now in my display panel, I want to nest those requirements in there so that someone can see that they're part of that. And I'll put the time one in there, make it a little bit smaller. I'm just using a keyboard shortcut there to make that fit inside. And I'm going to choose the payment display, and this one I'm going to move both of those down here and put them both into there as well.
So Stephen, does dragging and dropping have any meaning on the diagrams? Like, you set the structure up on the left hand side, so when you drag and drop, you put those three in there that we defined in the project browser. So are those three the only ones that can be put on there, or is it just like overlaying those elements?
No, Tom, the Enterprise Architect is much more than just a drawing tool. In a normal drawing tool, you might be just putting things in that have got a visual appearance. But in Enterprise Architect, there is deep meaning behind these elements. So this won't make any semantic sense for our model, but let's just do it to show to show you how that would work. So if we grab this weatherproofing one, which is arguably not part of the display panel. If you look over at the project browser now, there are only the three elements that we put nested underneath the display panel. But if I was to drag the weatherproofing requirement onto this panel, look what will happen in the project browser. The project browser responds to that, and this one becomes nested under there as well. So yeah, it's a great question. You can do things in many different ways in Enterprise Architect. One way using the project browser, and another one using the diagram. So, and they keep in sync with each other.
It just goes to show that how much value that structure has on both the diagram and in the project browser. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's great. Let's move this one out. I'm just holding the Shift key down now and moving that out of there, and we'll put that back. What I can do is use the undo function as well, and I can move that back into its original position there.
That's handy.
Yeah. Another thing I want to show you, Tom, is I like working this way, particularly with textual based elements like requirements, but I also do it with elements like components. Is to switch a view, and if you just bring the context menu up here, I can switch views, and I'm going to go to list view, and I'll save my diagram first. And now I'm in list view, and this may be a much more convenient way for some people to work, like I said, particularly with text-based things. And I've got a number of the properties there, and I can just drop down and change the properties here, and I'll say this one's approved, and this one over here is validated, and this one over here is implemented.
So this is pretty interesting then. So for someone who might be familiar with, say, working with a spreadsheet for requirements, a modeling tool may seem daunting or a learning curve, but this sort of gives them a more familiar interface to work with.
Absolutely, Tom, and you really hit the nail on the head there. There are people that that are daunted by modeling tools, and they're confronted by the fact that they don't know some of the syntax, they don't understand the diagrams. But when they go into this mode, it's like you said, it's very familiar to them, and they can work very easily and productively in this mode. Now, you notice that the tab up here has got a little arrow. I can move back into the diagram, and magically, look what's happened. The diagram and that list view are synchronized, and you can see here that the colors, the colored band on the left has changed, and that's because I've got a feature turned on to show the status colors. So as I change the status, those colors are changing. Let me just change another one here on the diagram and show you what happens. So I can make that approved, and we've got the blue one. I can change it to validated. So those colors are something that a user or a team can define. But the important thing is that yes, they're synchronized. So when I go back into my list view to switch views there, those properties have been changed, and I can do that with any number of other properties as well. So a very powerful feature.
I've seen some people use Enterprise Architect in a list view, but they've been able to have all the notes and everything. It almost looks like a Word document. How'd they do that?
Tom, another great question. Seems like you know a little bit more about the tool than you're letting on. It's a feature that's called the Specification View. So I can get to it from this one as well. So I can go to the Specification View, or it's available from the ribbons as well.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, it's incredibly powerful. And like you said, for people that are more familiar working in a Word interface, and certainly, Tom, we've had people join our teams, and they have been daunted, but the minute that they've seen this view, they suddenly feel incredibly comfortable, and they become very, very productive. And I guess it's a tool for all seasons and all types of all ways of working. So I can go in here and change the system must provide a touchscreen interface supporting both English, and I can say let's add a few other languages here, and let's put Spanish in there as well, and just hit the uppercase there. So all of those things can be changed, and when I've changed that, it's not just in this view. If I go back to the diagram view as well, that if I reload that diagram now, you'll see that but Spanish has popped up there. And the reload the diagram feature is very powerful. You might have 10 people working on the model, and as the model's changing, you may need to reload it, but that happens automatically, and you can see that that change in the diagram as well as the specification manager.
So looking at that specification manager view, I noticed one of them has like an arrow next to it. What does that indicate? Does that just mean it's like the primary requirement or something?
This one here. This one means that, this one means, if you remember, Tom, the display panel is made up of a number of different elements, and so I can pick that down, and that's reflecting exactly what we saw in the project browser and also the diagram. So the nesting is carried through into this view as well, so which makes it. And if you think about your favorite word processing tool, you'll know that they have features like this as well, and the ability to collapse it as well is a productivity thing. I can just look through all of those things, and of course I can, in this view, as well as the project browser, as well as the diagram, I can add a new one as well. So that might be the specification manager is a very powerful feature, and there's lots of other parts of this view, and that might be the subject of another video, Tom.
Sounds great. Look forward to it.
Yeah. So is there anything else that you would like to see as in this requirements topic, or I think we've covered a fair bit, and we can drill down on other on other features in other videos.
Sounds good. I guess for requirements, the final thing might be how do I share this with sort of my stakeholders if I need to validate these requirements before sending it on. But again, that could be another topic for another video.
Yeah, indeed, Tom, and that is there's a rich amount of functionality in the tool, ranging from web interfaces with Prolaborate and WebEA, where you can view this through the web, and also documentation generating out to PDFs, to Microsoft Word documents, to HTML, and a number of other formats. So a number of different ways of sharing this with the team.
Sounds awesome. I'll look forward to those videos. Thanks very much for your time again today, Stephen.
Thank you, Tom.